We're live.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Carina from Break Fear Fund Freedom. And today's Thanksgiving. So first of all, I have to say thank you to everybody who listens, to all our beautiful guests, to Awesome Dino, who's on his mission to change the world, but he's been an awesome co-host for a year. So just thank you for all those things. And today we're going to be speaking a bit about the most important thing in many people's lives, and that's chocolates, along with other things, right? Now, chocolates, we know, I mean, a lot. For me, it's such a treasure, and it's also, it helps us when we're feeling down, and it helps us when we're happy, and it helps us to share with other people. So it's such a connector and such a beautiful thing, right? And but it's not only about chocolates. Today, our very special guest is Maria Vlahos. And of course, it's not only about chocolates. It's about Maria and her beautiful take on chocolates and other things. So without further ado, let's do this. Let's go and speak to Maria and see where she's at. And let's share some of her secrets. Hello, Maria. How are you?
Hello. How are you? I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And thank you for being here. It's always so exciting to meet because we've been chatting a bit online and we just, like everything, we connect online. But it's so nice to actually have a one-on-one and chat.
Mm-hmm, it is.
Right. And to meet, well, virtually. Who knows? So, Maria, just tell us a bit first about who is Maria.
Oh, wow.
I know, loaded, right?
Born and raised in Midwest. I'm in Chicago, born and raised. So everything's been around Chicago. And a good part of my family's here. My siblings recently just moved over to the West Coast about 6 years ago. So it's just myself and my mom. She's here with me. So things are good. Just trying to stay busy and trying to stay active.
Yes, that's important. Right. So I have to ask you, like your siblings are in the West Coast. So when you come and visit your siblings, you can come and say hi to me. Where are they on the West Coast?
Arizona.
Oh, not so far from me.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Tell me, Maria, a bit about, it's Maria, you make homemade chocolates, right? But tell us a bit about how you started this. What made you decide, like, hey, I want to do this?
Wow. Well, growing up, we really didn't have chocolate because it was expensive. So even for things, like for Halloween, we would always give out like the Smarties candies, like the sugar candies, because they were within our budget, at home. So backtracking a little bit, it's like when I was growing up, it's like, it was my mom and my dad came immigrants from Greece. Unfortunately, when I had, he was 38 when he passed away and had a heart attack. So things were a little tough for the entire family for us. Unexpectedly, he had passed away. So it was actually around this time. So it's been 44 years that he's been gone. I had just turned 9 years old a few weeks prior to that time frame. So things were a little tough. So we try to manage everything as much as we can with just certain necessities. And at that point, chocolate wasn't a necessity. So, if we had it, we had it. If we didn't, then we didn't. But it wasn't like a focal point of the meal part or any kind of our snacks throughout growing up. So throughout the years, I'm Greek, so everything was with desserts and homemade stuff that we would always make, but it never included chocolate. So out of the blue, I'm like, let me just start making them. So I would get the chocolate, I would temper it and make it, and then just give it out as gifts for friends. So my one friend, she's like, why don't you just sell it? I'm like, what are you kidding? I'm not going to sell it. I work full-time. I full-time volunteered at my church and doing other stuff that I was doing. Well, whenever I worked full-time, I always had a part-time job. So I already had 2 or 3 jobs going on at the same time. So having another thing added onto my plate or another plate on itself, it was just a little overwhelming at that point. So I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Let me try it out. The worst somebody can say is, no, I don't want it. So I started in 2012, and little by little, and mind you, I was still working full time throughout the whole time frame of that. And And it just started exploding to everyone wanting, oh, you make chocolates. And specifically, I make nut-free chocolates. There's so many that have allergies out there. So I try to keep it uniform for everyone that can try it if they, so they're able to, and in a safe, free zone too. So no worries about any contamination or any kind of cross, nuts here and there. So that's really how it started. And then little by little, the name started growing. I'm still a very small business. It's just me, myself, and I making everything, marketing everything, boxing and shipping. So at times it can get a little overwhelming, but it's a joy when I get it, shipping it out or actually delivering it to my clients in the area around in Chicago here. I'm in the suburbs of Chicago. So I try to travel within the area, within like 10, 20 miles. So I can see their faces, say hello to them.
Yeah.
Thank you for ordering, first of all, because I'm not the only person that makes chocolates out in the world. They can easily go somewhere else to make it. So I'm just so appreciative that they want to purchase it and enjoy it and share it in their family events through me. So I make that extra step to go there and say, thank you, here's your chocolates. And that's really how it started. And then just little things here and there kept them popping up and continue popping up. And I'm just so thankful that what I make, everyone enjoys.
I love it. So I'm going to have to ask you this question.
Okay.
First of all, if you see the hearts on my head, they're not hearts, they're beautiful chocolates that Maria makes, just by the way. But we'll get back into that in a moment. Mm-hmm. Maria, tell me, what makes yours special?
The care that I put in it. I don't just make it just to make it. It'd be like, they didn't turn out that great. The way I do everything in my life is the way I want it to be. I want to treat others the way I want to be treated. So if I'm going to give a nice box or a bag or a basket or whatever it is, I want it to be perfect. I know nothing in life is perfect, but my platter of chocolates will be perfect if I can do that. And that's pretty much it. It's just, I always say a prayer, first of all, before I even start anything. I know the big guy up there, I call him the big boss because he really is. He really has driven me through a lot of bright spots and darker spots, through my life. So I know if I want to have, with his blessings, if there's anything that I can do, I want to have the best chocolates out there. And that's really what I do. And I listen to others, what they want, what they don't want. Of course, everyone has their own tastes in everything. So I try to pull that all together. And when I do, that's what I'm hoping that is received and enjoyed from everyone else.
I love this. So what I'm hearing is that you just pour your love into those chocolates. Well, and just share the love with everybody else through your chocolates. It's beautiful.
Well, I try to, because when you're passionate in what you're doing, whether it's chocolates or anything in life, I think that when you do that it'll show. It'll show, and hopefully it'll be reciprocated to somebody else, that when they receive it, they can truly feel that.
Yes, that's beautiful. So you have that ripple effect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love that, Maria. Now I'm going to, as I have to do, mm-hmm. I'm going to go a bit further. And you mentioned dark days in your life. Mm-hmm. And how did you cope with that? And what kind of fear did you get through those dark days? Or was there any fear at all?
Well, there's always fear. And I think that there will always be fear, even if you're on the better part of your life, because that'll make you a better person, I think, at least for me. Well, through the dark days, growing up, when anyone is born, you're hoping that you have both parents with you. And if you're blessed with siblings as well, if you're blessed with any of that, the picture of that whole thing, that's always going to be a wonderful thing. But unfortunately, that's not always the case with everybody, regardless if you're 9 years old like I was, or if you're 29 or 39, or even, there are never enough days when you're with your loved ones. So I grew up really fast. The one part of it that was the darkest and the brightest as well are the last words that my father and I had. We didn't realize that would be the last words. And those words were "I love you" to each other. And 10 minutes later, he passed away on my bed, watching, he was watching TV. I always joke around with it, saying he was probably watching the Bears and the Packers, and the Packers made a touchdown or something, because the Bears and Packers are not really the greatest friends. But all jokes aside, it's like there are a lot of things that are in our control and a lot of things that are not. So the parts that are not are obviously a little bit on the darker side for a lot of people. So growing up the way that I did, I had, and I still have, the best mom that has tried always to give us the best thing for everything. And she has seen darker days than I have. So I cannot complain on that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to do good for others as I was getting older. And one of the things that I was really more passionate with the chocolates, I tried to, sorry if I'm jumping around here, but try to give back as you can. Some people give monetary, some people give their time, some people give product. One of the things, and twice a year what I do this is I do everything in threes. So my father's birthday would have been in March 30th to be exact. So for the entire month, I try to do like birthday giveaways for those families that just to cheer them up, regardless if it's had a death or not in their family. But in honor of my dad's memory, I try to do that, in his honor. So throughout the month, I try to pick here and there, have little giveaways and all that with the chocolates. So December, just being before the holidays, so December 9th would have been my dad's 44th year of his passing. So that's in a couple of weeks. So I try to do throughout the entire month, because I know how difficult things could be in families, with not just monetary wise, but the lack of people that are in them that used to be. So if there's any kind of way that I can make that day a little bit brighter for them, it helps me too. Because regardless of what age, it's like, I still don't have my father, and throughout the years, people grow older and people have other health issues that who knows how the other part of your family will still be around at that point. So doing good for others helps dim the darkness will always be there, but it's how you choose to see it. And that has been a real thing that's been on my shoulders and on the back of my head, in my mind, breaking through that fear, because it's difficult to get through that. Some days it sounds like it's easier than others. Sometimes the older you get, it's more difficult than it is when you were younger. So that's how I kind of try to break through that. Okay.
I love that. That's also one thing, that I also learned when I was in detention, was that, you learn that along the way, but sometimes it's just something, and probably with you, it was the death of your father. There's something that just says, hey, this is what and it's always about, giving back and giving to other people, and once you take the light off yourself and you start giving to others and you see what's happening around you, it's like, whoa, things aren't as bad as they seem.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, it's degrees, it's various degrees of sadness, right? I mean, losing your dad is one that's irreplaceable. But I love the way you deal with that darkness. It's really cool. I want to ask you. You mentioned something about and religion is a tenuous topic, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you cope with that darkness besides giving away? But you were talking a lot about your religious connection with that. So how do you deal with that? Do you?
Well, don't get me wrong. In my 20s, the last thing I did was even step into a church. Just a lot of things growing up, and not just for my father's passing, but just in life in general, people that I've met through that time frame. Not many of them, not so good, not that great. And it just pulls you away to start you thinking. I'm like, it's my fault that I did this, or why didn't I be a little more smart? Why wasn't I smarter to see what could have happened? But of course, if we all had the magic ball, a lot of things would be different in our lives.
Yes.
But it's just something that it's a passing that you go through, and then you kind of step back and you look. And the last maybe 15, 20 years, I've just stepped back and look at, what? It's not that bad. I'm still here. That's the important thing, you know, and I could be annoying to people of doing whatever it is that I'm doing, sending my post out, doing this, but I always try to message people just to say, hey, how are you? You know, and I know that if they've had somebody, because things are so much different, you know, nowadays, aside from COVID, it's just they're growing up. Even when I was in school, I remember I had amazing teachers and classmates of mine. They didn't have to ask me, you know, or use the words, how are you, you know, but just the look, you know, and it's like a lot of, and that stays with me, and that has never left, and that hopefully will leave me. But it's just trying to refocus yourself. There are others that have never met their fathers. You know, I mean, I have a small handful of pictures, and I don't want to turn this into like my father, even though he does deserve like the whole painting with it. But it's, you know, I only have like a small handful of pictures of him and I together. Back then, they weren't really taking that many pictures, so that I cherish that. And if I find another one, I'm like, oh, wonderful, I can add this on. So it's like number 7, the picture number 7 that I have with him. That's why today people take pictures, you know, as much as you can, you know, because it's something that you will cherish down the line. It may not see it right now as something that might be that important, but it will be, at least for me. That's how I feel about it. So, but there's so many things that you stand back and you look and you try to reevaluate a lot of things. Even with school, like when I was going to school, I was, you know, my math classes in English. Now the kids that have classes that are taking, it's like, wait a minute, I was taking this in high school. I wasn't even taking these classes. And you're like, how old? 7 years old, 8 years old. One time my nephew wanted me to help him with his homework, just ask a question. I'm like, no, I'm the wrong person. And I love math. That was like the one thing I love, math and all that. But things are so different, you know, and so trying to cope with things, it's difficult. But the more when you grow up, if you're blessed to have that extra time in your life, you reevaluate, and we all should reevaluate and be more appreciative. And I'm thankful that through my life, I've been meeting a lot of people that have been put as another piece of the puzzle to make me a better person. And that I'm forever grateful. That will never change. You know, I'm just, there's a reason why certain people come into your life. That's a time frame when they do. In my 20s, I met a lot of people that were not that nice. And if I just based the rest of my life with that, you know, it's probably I wouldn't be here right now because of the stress that they had given me at that time. But I'm a stubborn Greek, and I won't let that get me down, because if part A didn't get me down, I'm definitely not going to have part D or E get me down too. It'll make me stronger to where I'm at today. And I think that's where a lot of the things that back then will be like, how has she been doing this? How's Maria coping with this? It's because of everything is like a building block to get to the next level. And I'm excited to whatever my next chapter will be in any part of my life, you know, like with, you know, in 2023 for that, you know, or even tomorrow for that, you know, so.
Yes, and that's exciting because I think whatever happens in our lives make us who we are today, right? So those people, those bad, inverted commas, people that you met in your 20s, I'm sure have a little bit of influence of who you are today in a good way, right?
Yes. Makes me stronger of a person, yes. I used to be very weak and okay, you know, knowing that I have 10 things to do, I would push my things off to the side, and I will still do that today. It wouldn't be just because of that, but I would just approach it differently. So
now I'm going to have to ask you this one, because we all, I know I do. I'm working on that, right? Suffer with people pleasing, because it's, you're that kind of person, so you have to put the person ahead and help them for whatever. How do you cope with that without losing yourself within the whole dynamic?
I probably would lose myself because I've always I don't really sleep much. So if there's something that I can assist with somebody to do something during the day, because I'm sure not everyone is up at night like I am, or, you know, I function on just very minimal sleep. I don't know how I do it, but coffee plays a huge factor in that.
Coffee, yes.
But I know that I will make it work. It's like I try to, and here's the thing. It's like I've seen my mom make it work all these years. And I even jokingly this morning, I told her, like, it's your fault why I'm like this. But and I know that that's a big influence on me. It's like if she can do it with the minimal things that she had, she, came to this country with hardly even speaking the language, and immediately she had to be mom and dad, work the hours that she did, making sure that we were all intact, in all parts of that.
Yes.
If
Yes.
she could do it with the minimum part of it, that she was able to communicate with others, there's absolutely no reason why I'm not able to do that myself. And it'll be extremely disappointing and degrading to her, because if I see her as how she is, then she didn't raise me the way that she thought she did. And of course, she's like, you have to be a little more selfish. I'm like, oh, okay, really? I'm like, aren't you? Really? You're not. So I make it work. That's the whole, part of it. I try to make it work.
Okay, so you don't lose yourself.
I try not to. I rather lose myself a little bit versus not helping the other person out.
Yes, yes, but I think it's a fine line, right? You have to see where the line is and how far, because it's how far you can push to be able to still save yourself. That's the wrong wording, but you know what I mean. To be able to still retain yourself in some manner, without, because if you just lose yourself completely, then you do, and then what do you do?
Right. And about 7, maybe 6 years ago, I mean, I did have some health issues going on, and I wasn't taking care of myself, because at that point I didn't find it necessary. I don't know why. I just felt that I had to help everyone else. And that was just like, okay, I have to put the brakes on that. So this past year, I started taking care of myself. And I know last year to this year have been a huge improvement. Mind, body, and soul. Like the entire one can't work without the other two, and it has to be worked on that. So yeah, I mean, I try not to put as much stress on me. I'm like, you know what, it'll get done. Most likely, even though if I don't sleep much, I mean, I know I joke, but we all need to rest. We need to get our bodies to rest, and that's a huge, important. It's very important to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning. I'm definitely a work in progress, and everything that I have to, turn off my phone at times during the day, which I don't do. I put it off to the side, and 5 minutes feels like 3 hours to me. It's only been 5 minutes. What's wrong? But it's habit. You have to make other better habits for us. For me.
Yes.
Instead of me like always checking. For 1 year, I mean, it's been like maybe 12 years. I just bought a watch. I had one. I had a few of them. And I kept on looking at my wrist. I'm like, okay, what time is it? I'm like, I have to stop doing this. Took the watch off. It was beginning of the new year. It was like it's about 10, 12 years ago. But it didn't help when I kept on tapping on my phone to see what time it was. It's the same thing, but it just wasn't on my wrist. So I'm like, okay, I have to stop being a tapper, see what time it is, and emails. And of course, that will tap it into stuff. So it's conditioning yourself. So I deserve to get it. So I got a watch this year, about a month ago, really. And I've been trying to cover it up with my long sleeve so I won't have to get back into that bad habit. It's kind of
why is it so important to know? Sorry, Maria. You were saying?
No, I'm saying it's kind of like stupid sounding with the watch and everything, but it's like something that controls me. The time. I have to rush. I have to do this. So pretend that it's not there, and life is good.
Now, that was the question I was going to ask you. Why is it so important to know the time? Why is it so important to be so controlled by the time?
I used to be more of it. I think because of how my agenda was, making sure I'm on that train to get to work, get where, and then afterwards volunteer. I used to work with the youth for 15 years at my church. So, and I still to this day, to get into that cab every Monday night, I was, up here north, in my church with the kids. They had like 40 kids. They were relying on me to be there at a certain time. My priest, the youth director, and it's like just a lot of things that were And again, I made it as my responsibility for that. I didn't have to. I wanted to. I felt better. If growing up, I really didn't have a lot of men. I had a lot of mentors, but like youth groups and stuff, I didn't have that. So if I can help somebody, even till this day, they still call me Miss Marie, and half of them are married and kids of their own, you know. So just having knowing that I'm doing better, you know, for them and helping myself too. So it's kind of like a rotating thing. So it's just me having too many things on my plate that I want to make sure that I don't have, that everyone is satisfied with me being included, that sometimes letting go and delegating to others is a little bit difficult for me to do.
Yes, I know the feeling. It's easier, and so sometimes you say, well, it's easier to just do it than to explain to someone else on how to do it, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, but on the other hand, you also stunt your growth because you're not letting go and letting other people help you so that you can grow where you know,
True.
just works.
Yeah, but just making sure I'm on time with everything, you know. So I think, again, it's something that I'm learning, and in my old age here, trying to, you know, enjoy life too, because my first 50 years, they're not going to come back. Now I'm just revealing my age here. But, and who knows how much longer we all have on here. So I have to enjoy as much as I can, you know, to my own limits on life. So, but yeah, so that's why it's, you know, I used to be more of like, okay, I have to rush here, rush here, rush, rush. I'm rushing for everyone else, and I will do that again in a heartbeat, and I will continue doing that. But I have to rush for myself at times too, and just take it back and slow down. So that is extremely unfamiliar territory for me. But
it's a good learning spot. It's a good place to start learning, right?
Exactly.
And growing yourself. and stop the anxiety within you, right?
And switch to decaf.
It's not the same though. Come on.
No, it's not.
Doesn't even taste right.
Why would I say that? You know, I mean, one coffee for a year, and that was like, why? But I switched it to like sodas, and now it's been like 10 years that I haven't had a soda. So, but I switched back to coffee. So, moderation.
With everything, exactly. Life, you have to taste and savor life, right? And if you start denying yourself things, it's like, you know, like food especially, oh, why would you do that? And I'm speaking Italian and Greek. That's our passion, right? That's where we make the most connection. That's when we speak the most. That's when we enjoy each other's company.
Right.
So it's important. Like how I got from food to coffee, I don't know. But tell me, Maria, tell me a bit about where to from now. What do you want to do with your business? Do you want to grow it, or you're just enjoying what you're doing right now?
Well, I mean, I'm very driven to go well over above and beyond, you know, 100%. If there was anything over 100%, I know we have below, but I do want to grow it. You know, that's definitely something that has always been on my mind. And once I'm on that driver's side of it, it's like, okay, watch out. I don't even wear a seatbelt. It goes way too fast at that point. I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities throughout these past 5 years that I don't even know where they're coming from. And I know a lot of it has to be up there, you know, but a lot of it has to also be within myself. And just, I never expected to where my chocolates have gone these last few years. From being a one-person show, it's like, you know, it's like I always give more than what I'm able to, thinking that I'm able to. So I'm like, well, if I push it a little more, I wonder where it'll go.
Yes.
And you know, 2019, I was blessed to have been part of in Illinois, I was the only company selected to be at the Grammy Awards. So I was, for my chocolates, and all the artists and everyone that was part of that, they all had a box of my chocolates. And someone had asked me the other day, how did that happen? I'm like, I don't even know. Even until today, I was like, how did that happen? So I just know it's like the worst somebody can say is no. That's how I've always my own, that's how I always feel like it is. Like you try it, and if it works, it does. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
Yes, yes.
So that's one proud moment of one that I've had. There are many, not just because it was there at the Grammys, but when a couple of the artists start calling me and they like, we really enjoyed your chocolates. I'm like, wait, what? So I know that I want to continue it down that route as well. Hopefully more will call me and just expand it as much as I can.
I love that. So how did it make you feel? How did it make you feel to be the only one chosen? I mean, that's such a big thing.
Well, it's unreal. And I was like, okay, someone's going to come and just pop this bubble and say, Jinx, you're not going to be there. It wasn't until I saw it on the news at KTLA that my box that was amongst all the other boxes that were, sharing of what was going to be in the gift bags over there. And I'm like, wow, this really happened. And of course I just like burst into tears because pure exhaustion, but first and foremost with all of that, because I was still working full time at this time, at that time too, trying to get it was like over 10,000 pieces that well over 10,000 pieces that I personally made myself for all of that. And it was just like, wow, this really happened. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to let that. I was very proud of myself and proud of being able to do this. But I'm like, I don't want it to be the part of, okay, I'm going to continue. I'm going to make it better. And it's just that if I can do that with just being the one person rolling with the whole thing, then it's unlimited with what I can do, and for the most part, too, is showing others that even though things could be difficult, there are times that I really didn't think I was even going to make it to that point. That it could be done. Have faith in yourself and have the right people, your cheerleaders around you, and people that you meet throughout your time frame up to that point that everything is possible. Take it little bite at a time, no pun intended with the chocolates there, but just take it one day at a time and everything will work out as it's supposed to. Have faith in yourself that, you can do it. And if you can't, you tried. So
I love that attitude. So what spun off from there? Because, I mean, that was such a big thing. Did you get anything that spun off from there besides your great attitude? But you've already got that great attitude from young, right? What changed, if anything, after that? Because that was huge.
I actually just took a step back and looked. I'm like, is this what I want to do? I know that you mean with the chocolates, right?
Yes. With I meant, with this big order to be in the Grammys, right?
Yes.
Did anything change within your business after that exposure?
It changed me emotionally. That it's not just for those that received it there, but how can I expand this even more to help others that are losing a lot of everything? Because the year after that, I think it was with COVID, they got hit, and then that just pushed everyone down. And even more so during then, I was just making chocolates and dropping them off at people's doorsteps, and they didn't know it was for me. I didn't even put my label on it because I didn't want to be like, oh, here she is advertising. I love doing a lot of volunteer work. When we were kicking it back now, when my father first passed, there was a group I would always get like right around the holidays, we would have people coming to the door, dropping off baskets of perishable and non-perishable foods and all that. And at that age, I'm like, who are these ladies? You know, they look, I don't know who they were. So my mom kept on saying, thank you to them, thank you to them. And it was going on for a while. And then the third, fourth time they stopped by, they looked really familiar. And I'm like, okay, no, I'm not really losing my mind here. Who are these people? Long story short, I knew the next day we were at church and I saw them, like, that's who was at my front door at that time. And I was like 10 years old at that time, too. You know, it was a year after my father had passed. So I figured out who they were and what they were doing. And they were part of the group called Philotochos. Philotochos is Friends of the Poor. And that's what they do. They do food. They help with families that are in need, whether, you know, financially, this, that, whatever it is. And now, mind you, we had like no money at all. So even now, it's like everything that my mom did, she worked like her behind off to get us to wherever we're at now. So these ladies are that group that they have. Is they were to go to different, you know, organizations and come, you know, like they help a lot with cancer, they help a lot with this and that, to help them put, you know, their right foot forward to continue on with their, you know, mission in life. Basically. So when I grew up, I'm like, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be in that organization. I was on the board for 9 terms, so for 18 years, and volunteering with basically the homeless, or with this, or doing food, or, you know, helping whatever it is. So I'm like, this is what the chocolates came around. I'm like, you know what? This is what I need to do. So the first part of COVID, as much as I could, like I said, I would just put like a little box of chocolates together and then drop it in their mailbox. And then a couple of people are like, okay, we know these chocolates, they came from Maria. So they kind of blew my cover with that. But I like doing a lot of things behind the scenes without people knowing it was me that did it. And most of the times, like, I don't even want to advertise myself because I feel just weird doing that. I know it's a business, it's my company, but I just like doing behind the scenes a lot of that stuff. So now I'm just blowing my cover right now for whoever is watching for the year 2020 and 21, that it was me that left all those chocolates on their doorstep. If it's something that could help somebody, you know, just have a better day, why not do it?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be homemade. It doesn't have to, just pick something up, put a rose, put something, do, you know, especially if there are little kids around that are there, you know, it's something that, that's where it starts too, you know, like little kids, you know, you don't want them to lose hope that, you know, hey, things are going to get better. And I look at, but it will. So if there's something that I can help with that part of it, I will definitely be doing it. So, and I continue doing that. I'm just not telling anyone that I will be doing it. It'll just come out unexpected somewhere. So, but if I need to ask for an address, obviously they'll know that it's me that.
I love that, Maria. You've probably added so many smiles, especially through COVID, when it was such a crazy time for all of us here, you know, lockdowns and isolation and all those things. So you made such a difference in so many people's lives. And I love your attitude because for me, it's the same thing. It's about giving without expecting anything in return. And that's probably why you're so successful now, because you give, but even if you don't expect anything in return, you still get the abundance from wherever you believe it to come, you know, spiritually and all that. So I love that. So it's very commendable. And thank you. I thank you on behalf of everyone else. Okay.
I mean, like I said, like, we're not here forever. I mean, that word forever is, you know, something we use a lot, real loosely, you know, I think at some point, you know, it's like, oh, it'll be done. But what if you can do something now? Why not do it? It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be, like I said, homemade. You can just get something, you know, or just put a Post-it somewhere, you know, or somewhere, and someone's saying, just say hello, have a stay, or a smiley face. That's my email when I first got a computer. I'm like, what is it going to be? I'm like, I'm always going to be Greek, and I hope that I'm always going to be smiling, you know. So my email's smiley Greek, you know. So it's like, and it's like, lately, I haven't really been doing a lot of smiling. A lot of it's been forced to show it, but behind, but I'm like, you know what? If I can be true to myself, it's going to literally shine through of not being smiley or happy or whatever. So it's basically getting up. If you get up in the morning, there's a purpose why you're here and you're there and you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. It may not look like it's something that it's going to be a lot, just opening the door for somebody, that's like a huge thing it may not seem anything like that, but for somebody it might seem, wow, this person did something and that's not, or, doing good. It doesn't take much. I mean, I have to buy the chocolates, I have to make, but if I know that I'm putting a smile on somebody's and making their life a little bit sweeter, quote unquote, why not? That's my only thing. It's like, why not? People were nice to me, my family, all these years. And I'm like, I think that it's my responsibility to do that back, to give back. Unfortunately, things in life, it doesn't seem, it's the way you look at it too. It's like, we want everything to be perfect. And I know I keep going back to that. It's like, nothing's perfect. You can make it better to continue on, to do better for others. Some people are having it much, much worse than, like that. If their day is like, if you can make it better, why not? So I don't know. That's, if you're able to, and even just picking up the phone and calling them. Hey, I'm thinking about you. Just want to say hi. How are you? And literally listen to what they're saying. Because the other day, one of my friends, I'm like, so what are you doing tomorrow? Or whatever day it was. She's like, I'm doing this and that. I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to him for a while. She goes, I know, I just said it just to say it. I didn't think he was really going to come over for coffee, or whatever. I'm like, well, that's your mistake right there. Don't just say it to say it. Say it because you mean it, and you say it because you are literally interested in that person's, on how they're feeling and how they are. If you're not
yes.
So she's like, oh, I didn't really think of it. I'm like, now what are you doing? She goes, now I'm like rushing and trying to do this. I'm like, that's great, but do it from the heart. If it's not done from the heart, it's going to show. Yes. Whether it is or it isn't.
Yes. I saw a post or somewhere about how you can always see if someone it works from the heart by the look by their faces, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll see the different expressions, but sometimes the face tells a whole different story, and that's always very interesting to see as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I love your philosophy. I agree with that too. Even just walking down the street and just smiling at people or saying hello to the dogs or whatever it is. It's feel good for everybody.
It is, but trust me, it's not always like this. Sometimes if I see like I was at the store months ago and somebody, they were laughing. I mean, it must have been a funny joke, but that I didn't even want to see anyone's teeth because of the smiles they were having. I'm like, seriously, it's not that funny, or whatever. As long as the better days outweigh the not so great days, I think that's a good part of, somebody having an okay day at that point, but if a lot of the days are not that great, it's like, okay, how do we fix this? And this year alone, I've known so many important people throughout my life prior that have passed away. Last week was like the 18th passing that throughout the whole, and it's like, when you think about it, it's like they made a huge impact in my life. And I know part of that piece of that puzzle has gone through to me. And I know that that's how I'm able to get up in the morning, do this, do that. And they're all little pieces of, like seeds, I guess, or, how, when you put something into water, it's like you grow, you want to be a better person. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter whatever, what has happened in the past, but you want to continue growing, that's part of life. Yes. But last week was like number 18, and this last one really hit home really hard. It's like you grew from that. And I know I'm speaking, for my mom, but this one really bothered her. And I'm like, listen, you became a better, you've known her, forever. Basically, they were little kids. And I know that bothered her a lot, and it still does. But I'm like, Mom, just think of all the laughs you had with her, and all this and that. And when they grew up in Greece together, they were all, and it's like you don't want to see anyone be sad, but you want to kind of try to flip it, on the other side of how it became a good part of your life that you had the chance to meet her. There are people that never met her, and they lost out on that. All these years, the whole year, it's like, all these passings that have happened. Every single person that has passed has affected me in such a positive way and I was trying to think, I'm like, there has to be a negative in there somewhere, because not everything is all hunky-dory and everything is all perfect, but every single person, every single thing of those individuals that have unfortunately passed, and a good part of them were family too, has made life better. And what an honor it was and is that I had them to say that was my uncle, that was this, that was that, and how wonderful it was that I did have the chance to meet them. If I didn't have turned that right way, I would never have met that. So it's just, everyone is put in your life for a reason, even the bad people, if I can say that part of it, you learn from them, you grow from them, of course you wish everyone is always going to be here, but I don't know. I think I went off track on that one. So sorry for that there.
No, don't worry about it. It's all part of it. It's all part of the big picture of life, right? And I love the way you take the positive out of this and you learn from it, and you keep that positiveness instead of crying and wailing and saying like, oh, why did you go? Why did you leave me? And all that victim kind of thing, which just keeps you stuck. So I love your attitude, Maria. You've got such a beautiful, positive attitude. It's like so really cool. And that shows in your work as well. So I'm going to just take it off for a minute and go back to your chocolates and say, thank you. You sent me some chocolates about a month ago, 2 months ago. Who knows? Time is just weird right now. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, if you don't try Maria's chocolates, you are losing out on, you just don't understand what you're losing out on. I'm in California and I love Sears chocolates, okay? I love Sears chocolates. They're beautiful. You know what? I'm gonna be really bold here and say you could probably put them on the same level. So you have to just go and check out Maria's chocolates, because I binged, solidly for a week. And I had to go walking more, because what are you doing? Instead of having lunch, I'd have a pretzel chocolate, and I don't like pretzels, right? I think they're overrated. I just changed my mind with yours. And I'm not telling you that because you're a guest on my show, okay? I'm being honest here. And then I shared them with everybody because I had to, like, look how cool this is. This is Christmas stuff. Come on. So I thank you so much for those chocolates. You changed my outlook on everything.
Oh my gosh, thank you. So that means you're running out, so you need some more.
No, I love them, but really.
No, well, that's very kind of you, Carina. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, that's what I want to is, I know there's so many chocolate companies out there. So it's like for you to say that, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
You're welcome. And like I'm saying it from the heart. I'm not saying it because you're here and I'm speaking to you. Okay. So just know that, everybody. Yes. And and you had gummy. I'm not a gummy person. Okay. I have to rave about it. I'm not a gummy person. Mm-hmm. Until I tasted your gummy chocolates. Oh, come on, people. You have to try those. Those are like out of this world. They really are.
Did I have the Twizzlers or the gummy bears?
The gummy bears.
Gummy bears. Okay. Because I do make the chocolate dip Twizzlers too. And a couple of events that I was at, somebody's like, I love chocolate, but Twizzlers, absolutely not. So one time he came by my booth and I'm like, here. And I don't even know who he was. I'm like, here, I'm giving you this as a gift. Try this. If you don't like it, throw it away in front of me. I won't get offended. So I saw him, like my eye kept on going. It was like a big gymnasium where I was in. So where I was positioned, I'm like, I saw like every section where he was. So the Twizzlers, like the long Twizzlers, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I see him like little bites taking, because I mean the stick was still long. I'm like, okay. I wasn't like being crazy, staring at him to see what he was doing, but I was curious to see. So what I would do, I mean, I dip everything twice in the chocolate. So and I leave a little bit at the end open so you can hold it so it won't melt all over you, right?
Yes, beautiful.
So I did that. So he came around. So literally by the time he came back to my table, he showed me the little section of Twizzlers that was not dipped in chocolate, and he threw it in front of me. Not on the trash, but it was right there. I'm like, so how did you enjoy it? He goes, not that little piece. I'm like, okay. He goes, because it wasn't dipped in chocolate. You know that it's been 6 years since I was at that one event, and he's like, he always orders like 5 dozen. I literally converted the man into the chocolate. But still, he goes, so what I do now, I dip the entire thing in chocolate. I don't leave the little piece, but he's like, don't dip them all like that, because I'll feel even more guilty for eating the entire thing but he's like now like one of my top customers for the Twizzlers alone.
I love it. That is such a cool story. And then while you were thinking, I remember also your now I love oranges, right?
Mm.
Oranges. And your orange rinds, oh, gee, those are beautiful. Come on, you have to try those too, people. They are so delicious. But I have to go back to the to pretzels. Like I said, I don't like pretzels. I've always said pretzels are overrated because people love them here, right? And I don't. I mean, in South Africa, we don't really. And I'm Italian. I don't really eat them,
Mm-hmm.
And I came to visit a friend, and I said, "You have to try these pretzels." She says, "I don't like pretzels." You have to try these pretzels. So I've changed a few people's ideas about pretzels, and mine have changed as well, right? Like Maria's pretzels, but no one else's. So on that note, if you noticed, there's beautiful chocolates on my head here. And Maria, tell me a bit about these gold chocolates, because I see you also wearing gold chocolates on you. So it's like such a beautiful.
And it wasn't planned. I just threw this on because it was the first thing I saw in my closet. I met your background there with your wallpaper. Well, those are because I also make cocoa shots, the hot cocoa bombs that was in the rage, all the rage a couple years ago, and I still make them. So those hearts, well, that's filled with Oreo truffles.
Oh, nice.
So I also do those in the cocoa bombs as well, the cocoa shots that I make. But those are filled with homemade Oreo truffles, and it's like a double shell. And then I have it's edible gold on the top there.
Mm. And look how beautiful they are as well. They look so beautiful. So, okay, now that I've been raving so much about your chocolates, tell everybody how they can find you. I don't think we've really even said anything about that. The most important thing.
So Chocolate by Maria, Nut Free is my company's name. You can find me on Facebook, Chocolates by Maria, Nut Free. Instagram, you can always email me. I have /had working on it, a website. My computer had crashed about a month ago when I turned this into full time with the company. So I'm in the process of working on that, to getting that up and running. But you can always email me, chocolatesbymaria@gmail.com, or just message me through Facebook, Instagram, whichever it is. And or just DM me through here, and then I can even give you like my personal number, and I can, we can go from there. So.
Okay, that's beautiful. Thank you. And obviously, everything will be in the description box below. So watch out for that. Thank you, Maria. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask you maybe 2 more questions. Tell me about your worst fear. Like, I'm going to go from beautiful chocolates to your worst fear. There's nothing like contrast, right? and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. Worst fear. Failure, not trying. Um, Growing up, I was always doing the safe thing. If I do this, if I go through the other side, I'm like, so I was always going safe, 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 because that's all I saw in front of me, and there was no way of tricking, or not tricking, but trying other things that are not unfamiliar to others,
Mm-hmm.
But my fear is not growing, not trying, not learning new, because with fear, there's an excitement with that too of what could happen. And if I don't do that, if I don't try that, it's, I'm disappointing myself, because you never know. Once that could be another thing that could be untapped in the back of my brain, because um, of different things that I can expand things to. Not expand it for my own benefit, because I don't really go that route. Expanding it for others to see and to give a little more energy for others to try it on their own too. That's how I, breaking through that is just the fear of not trying, um, not settling. Sometimes settling is also all right to do, but if you know that you've worked every angle of any kind of way, and that that's as far as you can go, you're like, okay, this is really what it is, But if you don't start learning and breaking through that part of the fear of trying, expanding, thinking something that you've never thought before, my issue is that I still have, I still need to start writing things down to make my list of things that, I remember you mentioning that a while ago, making your list and everything. I write my list. I just don't know where I put my paper when I'm done with it. But I need to refocus on, not to go away from that, but just refocusing yourself on knowing that if you don't try something new, you never know.
Yes,
Oh.
I love that. And yes, we do have a podcast on that. Just then, I'll add it to the description box as well. I love that. So, do you obviously take that whole attitude into your chocolates? I have to go back into your chocolates, right? Because then it gives you ideas to create like Twizzler chocolates. Like, who thinks of that? So I love that. It's just opens your mind into any and every possibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I love that attitude. Now, I've got a Facebook user who I don't know who it is because the name doesn't come up. And I have to just quote this because this is beautiful. There's nothing quite like a woman and their deep love affair with chocolates. So thank you for that, Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but I have a guess. I'm sure we know who you are, but we won't say anything, right? We will see you in the group. So, Maria, thank you. That was beautiful. And before we go, one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found freedom?
I'm finding it. I'm trying. The more that I break away from the fear, I think it'll be more visible. So, yeah.
Work in progress.
Yeah. Every day.
I love that. So, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, this was fun. Thank you for having me on. I mean, it's it's like when you think on things to do, and I'm like, if I do this, and this may not even. I mean, I was extremely terrified, and I still am, of speaking in front of people. It may not show it like this, but this, as every day goes by, learning process of speaking to others outside, and just everyday living, it conditions you for the next step.
Yes.
And quite honest, I mean, there are 2 times in my life that have never been nervous. My previous job that I had my interview at, that it was just the most comfortable interview that I had. And for personal reasons, I left just recently. And being on here today, too. This is my other one. So thank you for making it easy for me.
Thank you for being here, Maria. And yes, you know what? It's easy, right? It's just having a conversation, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm really honored, and it's honored and privileged to have you and to have met you. And of course, to have tasted your chocolates, which just connects us even more, right?
Let me know when you're running low.
So on that note, everybody, please go and check out all the details in the description box and go and check out and try Maria's chocolates. You will never look back. In fact, yeah, life will never be the same again. So on that note, thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much, Maria.
Well, thank you
for being a guest on the show. Thank you to everyone else who's been watching, because we are live in the group if anybody's interested in checking us out on a Thursday morning. And with that, thank you, Maria. Thank you, everybody else. We'll see you next week, and lots of love and many, many blessings for Thanksgiving. Bye, everyone.
Bye.